Welcome, welcome, Justin Wolfers.
Molly, how are you?
I'm good. You're here to tell us how's our economy doing? It's doing great, right?
I don't know. Um,
I feel like a lot of stuff happened that because there's so many insane things happened, we
right.
haven't been talking about the dollar and the
No, we haven't
markets and the
been talking about the dollar
Fed.
or the markets or the Fed or even the Bureau of Labor Statistics or the tariffs
And I feel like we
or,
should be.
that's what I say to people. And then they say, shut up, nerd. And that's it. That's how dinner parties go for me, mate.
So explain to us what's the opposite of shut up, nerd?
Open
What
up, nerd.
Tell us what's going on.
I mean, you have to say the opposite of nerd as well. So come on. How about a compliment?
Very smart, but that's not really the opposite of nerd. Anyway, the point is we had the jobs report.
Well,
We
I
had
was just waiting for a compliment and you just went straight too hard, you said, and just
uh
kept moving.
our favorite economist,
Wow. Wow. Who's your second favorite, Molly? You don't have a second favorite,
Betsy.
do you?
Betsy.
Oh, okay, fine. All right,
That's
good. I'll
good,
tell
right?
Betsy I came first.
Yeah.
To your
Yes.
audience,
No,
that's my better
never.
half.
No. Okay. Betsy's our first. Tell us what's going on.
Okay. We're at an interesting moment in lots of different ways. Okay, so what's the big news? The really big news is the president has announced his pick to be next Fed chair. He announced Kevin Warsh to be known as Handsome Kevin, not to be confused with Happy Kevin. Happy Kevin is the Kevin who smiles a lot out the front of the White House while lying to you.
Kevin Hassett.
Hence,
I
that's
thought
your.
that was sycophant, Kevin.
I am not mean like you. See, we economists, we give each other due deference and we're polite and kind. And he just seems so happy. And that's
Yeah.
nice. The president, of course, did point out literally quite explicitly that one of the most important qualifications to be the most powerful economist in the world, arguably the second most powerful person in the world, aka the Fed chair, was to be handsome. In fact, that's how we got Jay Powell as Fed chair. You may not remember this, but we had a short
Central casting.
woman from Brooklyn, Janet Yellen, who had an unbelievably strong record at the Fed. She was Fed chair. Normally, you reappoint, and the president didn't think she looked the part. So he chose Jay
Right.
Powell instead, who had, my God, he's a silver fox, isn't he? That shock of gray hair and the wisdom that Jay brings to the table. And so he chose Jay instead because he was more handsome.
That's right.
Turns out he didn't like Jay Powell, but he thought that what he needed was the same job qualification. So when he was interviewing Happy Kevin and Handsome Kevin, he chose Handsome Kevin, Kevin Warsh.
Handsome Kevin is also the son-in-law of Ronald Lauder, a big Republican donor. I'm sure that had nothing to do with it, but it probably did not hurt.
And what products does Lauder Corporation make?
Make 'em.
Yeah, skincare. I bet Handsome Kevin has great skin. I sort of want to touch it now.
All right. So back, we got to keep you on track here.
Yeah, I'm the problem,
Handsome
Molly.
Kevin is Handsome Kevin. He's a hawk. Explain to
Right.
us what
So
that means.
right. Wonderful question. So here's the difficulty. You might be saying, what does it mean that we now have a handsome central banker? So the one simple way to think about economists or monetary economists, people think about the Fed is on a spectrum from hawk to dove. Okay. What is a hawk? A hawk is someone who is always worried about inflation. And the way you clunk inflation on the head is you raise interest rates. A dove is much more worried about unemployment. The way you attack unemployment is you lower interest rates. So hawks
Mhm.
generally tend to want higher interest rates. Doves generally tend to want lower interest rates. Hawks use the word inflation a lot. Doves use the word unemployment a lot. Kevin Warsh was a Fed governor from 2006, I think, to 2011. And it sounds like ancient history to some people, but that was also included the financial crisis of 2008, when a young Molly Jong-Fast cut her teeth as an aspiring writer at, was it Vanity Fair, writing about the
Anyway,
financial crisis.
yes, yes. Go on, go
Um,
on.
some penetrating insight in those columns. They hold up well. The world went to crap, and then the question is, what's the recovery going to look like?
Mhm.
And you might think if you've got double-digit unemployment and no inflation and a totally flattened economy, what you need to do is cut interest rates. And that is, in fact, what the Fed did. But even with low interest rates, it was a grindingly slow recovery, and it took 6, 7, 8 years before the unemployment rate got to back to where it was. Careers were destroyed, family incomes were lower than they otherwise needed to be. There was far too much misery through that period. I raise that period because throughout that entire period, Kevin Warsh, as a member of the Fed, was continually critical. And his claim was interest rates were too low. And he woke up every day, days where there were millions of people unemployed who didn't need to be unemployed, and said, I'm so worried inflation's just around the corner. That's what we need to guard against. And if handsome Kevin had been running the Fed through that period, we would have had much higher unemployment, much more prolonged unemployment, possibly a generation permanently scarred or damaged by an ongoing slow economy. So there's a lot right there, which is handsome Kevin was a hawk. Here's a weird thing, though. Since the president started auditioning for the next Fed chair, he's all of a sudden decided that he thinks low interest rates are a really good idea. So the guy hated low interest rates when unemployment was 10%. Today, he thinks they're fantastic. So honestly,
And
Molly,
what's
I don't know what to
unemployment
think.
today?
A little bit below 4.5%.
Right. So it would make sense that you would want to have lower interest rates when unemployment is higher,
Right.
and
He showed
higher interest
no
rates.
concern with the lives of ordinary working people who were thrown out of work during what until COVID had been the deepest recession of our lives. So what's happened? Boy, I think nobody knows, right? So
Right.
one possibility is the president who very explicitly wants a dove. He wants someone dovier than the dove. I don't know what can be dovier than the dove, but a dove.
The
Uh,
sycophant.
well, he does want a sycophant too, but he wants low interest rates. He
Right.
has put in place the only person who showed during the recovery from the last Great Recession that he hated low interest rates. So what's going on? One possibility. Maybe handsome Kevin just lied to the president to get the job. And once he gets in there, we'll get hawkish handsome Kevin, who is going to raise interest rates and slow the economy sharply. One possibility. Another possibility is that he means it, that all he wants is the job, that he's, as Paul Krugman has said, a political animal, that when Democrats are in power, he wants high interest rates, and when Republicans are in power, he wants low interest rates. One thing's for sure, he's never gone back and said, my judgment was wrong 6 years in a row. There's no question that it was. And I think one should probably learn from that. And then there is this deep question that I normally wouldn't ask. Normally I'd say, well, you've got your track record. Turns out it wasn't very good, but what deal did you make with the president? I normally wouldn't ask that because presidents don't normally ask the Fed chair to make a deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Presidents normally don't intervene. Presidents are not normally transactional. But somehow a super hawk ended up being picked by a guy who wants a dove. And that
Right.
raises many, many, many questions.
I wonder if you could talk about Donald Trump's economy right now, the dollar, where we are with the dollar and the tariffs,
And all the
etc.
things.
All the things.
All the things. Okay, so let's start with the dollar. The dollar fell modestly sharply over the past few days. One word I would recommend your audience never use is the word strong or weak. Why is that? Because those are terms that naturally, particularly for those of us suffering testosterone poisoning, activate our emotions. So some people say, oh, now we have a weak dollar. How does the president feel about that? It's just a price. It's the price
Right.
of US dollars in another currency, or the price of another currency in US dollars. And that price is lower. What does that do? Well, it does two things, one good, one less good. The good thing is it makes American goods cheaper for folks who are abroad. And if
Right.
what you wanted was to sell more stuff from American factories, this actually helps.
Right. Unfortunately,
It makes foreign stuff more expensive for Americans. And if one felt one were in the middle of an affordability crisis, one
right.
might think that raising the price of foreign goods is a bad idea. And then there's a deeper question, which is, what does this mean? So if this were just caused by differences in inflation or some other thing, not a big deal. If this is, folks, the dollar is down because people stopped believing in the American economy. People were no longer willing to invest in America, in which case they wouldn't need to buy US dollars, and that's the reason. That would be, it was a damaging trend caused the dollar to fall, and that in itself would be worth worrying about. Now, the fact that the dollar is at a lower price right now is not in and of itself a bad thing, but it does raise the question, why is it? And to preface, I don't know the answer, but it does raise questions.
Do you think this is a bit of that or no?
I think the dollar is so freaking expensive that so freaking complicated. The best answer I
Right,
can give the audience, the honest one is, I don't have a great answer, but I do worry that the rest of the world is losing its patience with the United States.
right. That's a pretty good explanation. I mean, it's certainly the worry that a lot of us have because we
Yeah.
did try to go to war over Greenland like
So I think
2
that's actually
weeks
a
ago.
marvelous point, which is on any given day, you and I sit down and we'll talk about whatever the story du jour is. And then just remembering literally just a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
we were talking about taking over Greenland and the end of the post-war consensus and the
Yeah.
reordering of defense ties. It's just extraordinary. And the idea that that's not the most important economic story of our time, that we have a president who appears to want the world to think that maybe he'll go to war, maybe he won't, that he doesn't regard past US deals as binding him, that is willing to play the aggressor. It's these are you don't need me to tell you this, Molly. These are interesting times.
Mm,
Hey,
they're not that interesting.
do you
They're
wanna
just
hear a good news
distressing.
story?
Yes, yes, I do. I desperately
Okay,
wanna hear a good news
I have
story. Go.
always been like, it's I talk too much about bad news, so good news.
Yes,
So on Friday of last week,
yes.
President Trump announced the new commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a fellow by the name of Brett Matsumoto. Now, here's something that shouldn't be news, but is. He's an extraordinarily qualified nonpartisan fellow.
What?
Yeah. Now, to
Isn't he
understand.
gonna get fired like the person before him?
Right. So I was going to say, let's give a little bit of context to see why this is a good news story. So, because I think you and I talked about earlier rounds of this, you can think about this as being a play in three acts. The first act is the previous commissioner, who, like, this is a job no one had ever heard of before. It's really, I mean, in my world, we've heard of it. We love this job in my world, but in the
Mhm.
real world, no one cares. The previous commissioner, Erica McAntifer, was fired by the president because she reported truthfully the truth
Mhm.
about how the job market was doing. Sometimes we say, "Don't shoot the messenger," and that's kind of meant to be a metaphor for something, but she, like, hands over the numbers, and he's like, "You're fired." Not a lot of metaphor going on there, and that shocked everyone. This is not what first world countries are meant to do.
Mhm.
Then it got worse. The president gets to appoint a replacement, and so he, in fact, went to nominate a candidate who was so poorly qualified that it blew people's minds, even in this administration. A fellow by the name of E.J. Antoni, fellow who has exactly one piece of research with exactly one citation, and that was by a former friend of his. A fellow who is being tapped to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He'd never run a bureau, he doesn't work on labor, and he doesn't understand
Mhm.
statistics.
That sounds like a Trump nominee.
A guy who wouldn't have gotten an entry-level job there, they wanted him to run the whole organization.
Right.
Now, it actually turns out that there is a step too far for this Senate, and the Senate said, "No, no, we cannot do this." The fact that it turns out this guy actually has a much better track record at turning up to January 6th insurrections than knowing anything about statistics might have been too much. So the Senate said, "We're not gonna let you go with this guy." And so then last Friday, like, this is a terrible story so far. This is someone who's trying to destroy our statistical infrastructure,
Mm.
who's trying to appoint people who are not qualified, who's undermining our
Alternative
institutions.
facts.
All
Alternative
because of
facts.
facts. And then last Friday, and this I just it's so beautiful, the president announced he was appointing Brett Matsumoto. You may not know Brett, but Brett was a career Bureau of Labor Statistics employee. He'd spent 15 years there. He's a PhD economist. He's written papers on the most splendidly nerdy things in the world, like how do we get health insurance? How do we account for that in measuring the cost of living, which is stuff the BLS is meant
Right.
to do. So we've gone from a world in which we had a highly qualified nonpartisan head to having a highly qualified nonpartisan head, and I am so happy.
And how did this happen?
I think that's a big question, and I actually think it's a very deep question. So first of all, I do want to point out that in between, the president caused a lot of damage, pointless damage. He went from one nerd to another nerd, and it's going to be run well in between, but he's done everything he can to undermine the credibility of government statistics in between. How did this happen? I don't know. So one thing, it could be the president just got bored.
Mm. With
Turns
the
out I might
topic.
be the
Yeah.
only person in the world who likes talking about the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I have been to dinner parties and I cannot get people to buy it. Could be the Senate actually insisted. Who
So this
knows?
actually dovetails with another question I had, which is Kevin Walsh
Handsome Kevin?
has to go through a Senate
Yes.
confirmation.
Right.
The Senate is not delighted with Trump right now, but he needs 50 votes to pass, right?
Mhm.
So talk us through, I mean, and we already heard Tom
He
Tillis
also has
said,
to get out of committee, and that's where
right.
Tillis is really important. So
Yeah.
right, so the president gets to nominate a guy, the Senate gets to decide what to do with it.
Yeah.
I said a few critical things about Warsh earlier. Let me come back and actually say a few positives. So you can think about the potential nominees as being out of two hats. One hat is the sort of folks who really take economics and monetary policy seriously and clown cranks and charlatans.
Mhm.
In the past, we would never even talk about that second hat because it would never
Right.
be considered possible. But E.J. Antoni, for instance, is from the clowns, charlatans, and cranks
Mhm.
bucket. The president in the past has tried to appoint people to the Fed who are from that bucket. Judy Shelton, who's a gold bug, for instance. So the good news about Handsome Kevin is he's from the serious bucket. And that might be enough to get him through. Having said that, he's from the serious bucket, but if you aligned all the serious people and said, how many of you got every single call wrong between 2006 and 2011? Handsome Kevin got more of those things wrong than anyone else.
Right.
How many people have had a public about face with no explanation? Only Handsome Kevin, although Smiling Kevin does that, or Happy Kevin does that too.
Right.
Um, so there are really important questions to be asked, but at least he's from the right side of things. The other thing you've seen is okay, so that's there. Tom Tillis, remember a few weeks ago, the president tried to jail or threatened to
Mhm.
jail Jay Powell, which is
Yes, I remember it.
outrageous.
Because of the renovation. He was mad about a renovation that went over budget, and that is
Molly,
which
I
turns out
think
to
that's not
maybe
what it was about.
but that's what he said it was about. Yes, go
Well, I
on.
don't do what he said. So Tom Tillis said, you know what? That's not how you run a country. When Congress tells a guy to do something and he does it, you don't put him in jail. So Tom Tillis then said, you have to get rid of these criminal charges or I'm not going to get Handsome Kevin through committee. And so that right there is the first thing. And then the second thing is this question that I raised earlier, which is what promises has Handsome Kevin made to get the job? Because if he's effectively made promises that would give up the Fed's independence that Congress granted to it, you could imagine the Senate saying no. So I think my guess is the fact that he comes from the hat of people who are at least qualified on paper probably means he's going to be okay. But I think everyone should be asking very, very hard questions. What did we learn from all the previous mistakes? What explains the current about face? What was said in quiet, smoke-filled rooms? And
Yeah.
I think whether Democrats can get behind him should, I'm not making a prediction, but should depend on the quality of those answers.
Oi, Justin Wolfers, will you come back?
Only if you invite me, Molly.